can see a sea of alpine green, something that will stay with me. Sky is wrapped in blue, wish that I could share with you, like a photograph when times are good, when a flower begins to bloom. Life never felt so good. You're far, but distance doesn't break your heart. It gives us time to know our love. Grass all wrapped in you. Oh, I wish that I could lie with you. Oh, I know what I would hold on to. A memory when times are good. That's when I think of you. That's when I think of you. Oh, I know what I would hold on to. A memory when times are good. That's when I think of you. That's when I think of you.
All right, so I just launched the boat at Flaming Gorge National Recreation Area, NRA. And I'm heading across the lake right now. Winds are really light. I'm doing about 1.82 knots. And I'm trying to find an anchorage. So, it took me 7 hours to get here, a couple hours to set up the boat. And it's about 6 o'clock right now. Sunset's 7:15. So I'm just making my way across the lake to some areas that look, at least on Google Maps, on the satellite view, look very sandy. So I'm hoping they're a little shallow because, of course, the Flaming Gorge is a gorge, and so a lot of the shore is very steep and rocky. So I'm hoping to find an area that I can anchor and then put in for the night. And then tomorrow I've got a full day of sailing on the Flaming Gorge. All right, so this is my first night at anchor, and this is actually my first time anchoring out in the middle of nowhere. Like, usually I shore anchor or I tie in a cove, like between rocks or, from a stump, to the other side of the cove, a narrow cove. And so I just found a nice 7-foot deep spot in the middle of this little, I don't know, it's like a cove, I guess. And so I've got about 35 feet of anchor line out, and yeah, it's perfect. So I'm pretty far from shore, and it's a good spot. I was able to find it through looking at Google Maps. So yeah, I've got my, you can see my anchor light, and I got my anchor ball for when the sun comes up, because I don't plan on getting up with the sunrise. So, all right, beautiful sunset. See my anchor line there. I've got my companionway screen in right now, but of course it's going to be pretty cool tonight, so I'm going to have to put the companionway hatch back in and then just leave my port lights with screens just to avoid condensation. So yeah, that's my current view, and of course my anchor light is lighting up the cockpit a little bit. All right, so this is my first night at the Flaming Gorge, and I've anchored for the night. So I keep checking my phone here to make sure my position hasn't changed, see if I'm drifting. So it seems like the anchor's holding. The wind picked up a little bit, you know, just a couple miles an hour, maybe 5. But now it's completely dead. So I think I'm good for the night. So I'm going to be sleeping in the port side quarter berth. And as you can see, I've got the whole V-berth empty. I put the V-berth cushion in. Usually I leave that at home unless I'm camping on the boat. So when I'm just sailing at my regular lake, this is out, and then I have the whole cabin sole to store things. But yeah, so I got lots of space. I've got, you know, a duffel and a backpack and some of my camera gear stored in the starboard quarter berth, and then of course my porta potty, and then I've got my food down here on the cabin sole, and of course the cooler fully stocked with drinks, and got my blanket. I went ahead and put the companionway hatch in because it was cooling off. It's only going to be 43 tonight, but I do have screens in 2 of my port lights, so I get a little bit cross flow, and that way I don't get any condensation in the boat. And I should be plenty warm. I've got a nice blanket, and I can also, of course, adjust how much airflow comes in or out by closing these. So if I get cold at night, I can just close them up. And of course, you know, the other thing nice about being anchored, which is the first time that I've anchored in like the traditional way, which is a bow anchor, because usually I have a bow and a stern anchor. The nice thing about it is that the airflow, it's not like direct. So when I've anchored with a stern anchor and a bow anchor at the same time, a lot of times the wind comes from the side, and so you get a pretty good breeze coming into these port lights, which, you know, if it's cold in the mountains, which is where I usually am, you know, it gets a little uncomfortable. I imagine if I had the bow hatch open, you know, there'd be a really good breeze coming through. But yeah, with the bow pointing into the wind all the time, you know, there's really not a lot of breeze coming in through the port lights. But, you know, it'll let some of the condensation out and, you know, hopefully not get too hot. But yeah, plenty of space. Looking forward to it. I'm hoping to get up early and, you know, get a good full day of sailing in tomorrow.